more. This is a bit larger now. And you can see the horizontal axis with the levels and the vertical axis with the 5 skills. And in each of these little cells there is a description. We'll see that in detail. So once more summarizing, self-assessment of communicative proficiency at 6 levels arranged in 3 bands, A, B, C, and each of these bands has got 2 sub-levels in relation to 5 skills: listening, reading, spoken interaction, spoken production, and writing. And very important, always in the form of a can-do statement. It's always positive and not negative. I wonder what language learning culture is like in the countries where you come from. In Austria, we used to be very, very correctness oriented and grammar oriented, and now this is a very big change. Actually, it's a paradigm shift. So let's go. I can't see. Yeah, okay. Now I have copied, or I have enlarged one of these little cells now so that you can see what it says, or what these can-do statements look like. This is spoken interaction, so dialogues, conversation, discussion, whatever, at level B1. I can deal with most situations likely to arise whilst traveling in an area where the language is spoken. I can enter unprepared into conversation on topics that are familiar, of personal interest, or pertinent to everyday life. For instance, family, hobbies, work, travel, and current events. And for each of these, for each of the skills and for each level, you get such a more or less holistic description. Now that takes us to the language biography. As I said, it's a learning tool, an accompaniment to learning. It encourages the learner to plan, to monitor and evaluate language learning in separate sections which are devoted to A, your own individual language learning history. That is to say, what is my first language, or what are my first languages? What languages are spoken in my family? What languages do I speak with my friends? What languages did I learn at school, or what languages did I acquire when I stayed abroad, etc., etc. So you can document your own and reflect upon, yes, exactly, self-assessment by the learners. There is also one big section usually now in the more modern language portfolios, which focuses on learning to learn. So that would focus on preferred learning styles and learning strategies, giving tips on how to learn, or also documenting, these are my preferred learning strategies. And then of course there can be discussions about, how do you learn? How do I learn? Maybe I could try this. If it works for you, maybe it could work for me too, but maybe it doesn't, because I'm a different type of learner. I learn best when I listen to things, or when I engage in role plays or whatever. So you have to find out about your own learning style in order to become a really advanced learner. And this is the heart and core, of course, learning targets and self-assessment of your communicative foreign language proficiency with the help of checklists. I'll show you such a checklist just in a minute. And last but not least, intercultural learning and linguistic experiences, raising intercultural awareness, raising linguistic awareness. And this is a very, very, actually very detailed part of the language portfolio, the language biography. And what you write down here can be summarized in a very condensed and short form and be put into your language passport, which would be the official document. Are learners guided to fill out these passports? I think they need to be guided, depending on, of course, depending on the age and maturity of the learners. The younger the learners are, the more guidance they will need. And if it's adult learners, maybe they can do it on their own, although I think there should be some sort of introduction at least. Now here you can see, if you maximize again, when you maximize this grid, this shows you level B1 spoken interaction. This shows you such a checklist for spoken interaction at level B1. That is to say, it gives you quite a number, I don't know how many, 10 or 11, I can do statements which illustrate what level B1 can mean. Let's go back to this slide. You can see this here. Yeah? I can deal with most situations likely to arise whilst traveling, etc. And the checklist in the language biography now illustrates this. For instance, it means I can readily handle conversations on most topics that are familiar or of personal interest with generally appropriate use of register. That means I'm not always confident, but generally appropriate. Or let's take this one.